So these are the HIFIMAN ARYAs. They're one of HIFIMAN's higher end headphones, not the highest end headphone, but they're quite pricey anyway. They now go for like $1,500, and I think they're a pretty nice piece of equipment. And disclaimer before we start the review: this HIFIMAN ARYA is Brian's personal unit. He bought it with his own money, and so this review will be completely of my own opinion, and when I'm not affiliated to any store or brand whatsoever. So yeah. So now for the HIFIMAN ARYAs, for this review, we'll start off with just the general build quality, cables and packaging and all those things, because there's not a lot of things to cover and I don't want to make this review too long. But if you want to skip this anyway, you can skip forward a few minutes, and we'll start off with sound. Now the HIFIMAN ARYAs themselves, build wise, I mean, HIFIMAN wasn't always known as a particularly reliable company, although that has improved quite a bit in the past few years. We've seen a lot less failed units, but this unit in particular was actually a unit that was sent from China, because Brian's first unit, the original ARYAs V1, V2, don't know how you can differentiate that, but the first unit that Brian had actually failed. One of the drivers failed. Supposedly that's fixed in the version 2, and considering that the drivers on these have not failed yet, I would think that might be true. So yeah, just keep in mind about that, and just check your warranty, and better not buy it without any warranty. If when a headphone is expensive, you won't want warranty, especially coming from, well, HIFIMAN, which is not really that well known for reliability and durability. Now, aside from that, the general build of the HIFIMAN ARYAs, when you touch them, they feel nicely made. Like they feel okay. They feel like they're made out of good materials. Although finishing wise, some of the parts are a bit sharp. Like this headband adjustments thing, I would say, is a bit sharp. And for some reason, something that irks me a lot about the ARYAs is that, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but if you can see this, the hinge here, this is not confidence inspiring. Like this section, it wobbles. I don't know if it's supposed to do that, but it just feels it's a bit unsettling, considering that the bolt that is holding it onto it is not that thick. So yeah, it's just been something that's bothering me since the first time that I touched the ARYAs, because it kind of gives me anxiety. Aside from that, the pads of the ARYAs so far, at least on Brian's unit, have been they're still quite plush. I think they're still, in pretty good condition. Although in the past, so I also have a pair of HIFIMANs which uses identical pads. I do have the Anandas, and the Anandas pads, which I do wear, or at least have worn for on a daily basis for quite some time. With glasses, the back of the pads have started peeling off because they touch my glasses. So I would think that if you are a glasses wearer, this will probably happen to you at some point in time using the ARYAs, because these are not actual leather, these are pleather, especially in more like either very dry environments. These will probably start flaking off quite quickly. Aside from that, this top headband is also made out of pleather. It's not actual leather. For $1,500, I'm surprised they can get away with that. But at least the overall headband is quite comfortable. It does look a bit hideous. Like, I would say that wearing these makes you look a bit dumb. Like, they're not the pair of headphones you would choose when you're going on an online conference call and have. So yeah, they kind of make you look like Frankenstein-ish, sort of. And they are they have quite a big of an adjustment range. Like, my head size is normally an Asian size L helmet size for motorcycle helmets, L or XL for for on some brands, but it's usually L or XL. And these I think have a very wide range of adjustments, and I'm able to use them on the second click. So I think if you have a bigger head, this will probably also fit you. This swivel mechanism, etc., I think they do quite well. I mean, they function well. They're not that squeaky, and yeah, aside from that complaint I had earlier, I think they, at least the rest of the headphones, seem to be built quite solidly. Now, cable-wise, it's pretty standard. I think the cable's just fine. It's a bit microphonic, not too badly. It's not that long. It's 6.3mm connected jack. The actual box of the headphones are massive and probably don't fit in the frame. There's not much in it. Couple of manuals, some padding, very nice clothing, so that it feels a bit premium in terms of unboxing. But yeah, that's about it. So now, without further ado, let's just straight get into sound. So the sound of the HIFIMAN ARYAs, I would say overall they are a more neutral, brightish sounding headphone. They are very they have quite a linear bass with a very good extension. The sub bass region extends very deep. I think this is probably one of the, if not the deepest sub bass extensions I've heard from a headphone. Mid bass, I think, is it has some kick and punch, not a lot of it, because it's a planar headphone. Planar headphones, they do have kick and punch, but they serve it a bit differently. They feel like they're a bit restrained, although slightly less so on the ARYAs. I think the kick and punch on these are quite satisfying, although overall quantity wise in the bass there's not a lot of it. It's quite neutral, but EQing these, I think they take EQ quite well. So if you want a bit more quantity in the bass, you can EQ a bit more bass on these and they'll do just fine. Aside from that, overall texture in the bass I think is extremely nice. It's very, very good, as you would expect from a planar headphone. And yeah, overall control in the bass is also quite nice. Bass speed, I would say, it's more on the medium to fast side. It's actually it's more on the faster side of things. It's fairly quick. So yeah, and I would say sometimes the bass does feel to be a bit too fast. Sometimes I would want it to be a bit slower than it is on the ARYAs. But yeah, at least with that speed, these just never fall behind on any music I put them on. And with that speed, there's also very good control, which is what kind of expect at this price. But again, they do it very, very well. And this exceptional control also goes into when they're about how they handle the bass bleed. There's none of it in the ARYAs. There's no bass bleed in the mid-range whatsoever, which I'm able to identify. And yeah, I'm just chuffed. I'm amazed at these. Now the mid-range, I think, is a bit more. There's not a lot of things I can talk about the mid-range of the ARYAs. They're just there. They're not too thick, not too thin. Upper mids can sometimes be a little bit aggressive on these, but not too much. Like, they're a bit more forward relative to the rest of the mid-range, but not by much. The overall mid-range, I think, is very well separated, extremely detailed. Overall, I don't really have a lot of thoughts about the mid-range. Like, they're just there. They're not too thick, not too thin. Again, but I think everything just sounds quite nice on these. But again, upper mids can sometimes get a bit aggressive. But yeah, they're just very excellent, I would say. Now, the treble region of the ARYAs is probably one section which I have a problem with. Actually, quite a bit of a problem with sometimes, depending on the music which I'm listening to. So the mid like the mid treble to upper treble of the ARYAs, if I recall correctly. I might have gotten mixed up with the HD800s. I'll probably edit this in if I have to recheck my notes if I did get them mixed up or not. But the treble of the ARYAs can sometimes sound quite a bit fatiguing to me. This is especially true if you're listening to quite compressed music. If you listen to a lot of music on, let's say, YouTube, if you're just watching YouTube videos and such, or sometimes if you're listening to some like J-pop stuff and all those things, these can get quite fatiguing very quickly. I'm not a huge fan of it. Most of the time with more well-recorded music, there's not much of a problem, but with, well, to be kind, shittier music, it can sound a bit harsh using the ARYAs. But aside from that, the overall treble presentation of the ARYAs is extremely nice. It's very well separated, it's very detailed, it's very, very fast. There's no hint of just splashiness whatsoever. I think it's very well controlled, and the extension of the ARYAs is also quite good. I have no complaints whatsoever aside from that just sharpness on the treble of the ARYAs sometimes. Now, when we talk about soundstage and imaging, which is probably the best part of the ARYAs, aside from the overall control of the bass, etc., the ARYAs have a soundstage that reminds me of the HD800s. They're extremely wide, and they're even taller than the HD800s. They just sound so much. They sound so much bigger, essentially, than the HD800s. The HD800s sound wider, like you're in like a shorter but wider room, but the ARYAs sound like you're in a bigger hall, sort of. I'm not sure. I think that's the best comparison I can give you in terms of what the presentation is like between the ARYAs and the HD800s. Sometimes I would say that the HD800s sound like they are too far away. This is not the case with the ARYAs. I think the ARYAs are just at a place where I would like the sound to be coming from. But something that you do have to note is that the ARYAs are very sensitive to positioning, at least on my head. Changing the cups position on my ears ever so slightly can make the sound completely just congested into like coming from the back of my head, or something's just straight up just going like very near into the center of my head. But other times the sound of the ARYAs they're just presented in such a very wide manner that it's very impressive, I would say. And it's one of the only headphones that can give me a sound that sounds like it's coming from in front of my head instead of somewhere from the center front of my head. Like if this were my head, normally when I listen to headphones, sounds would be coming from like around here. They would never appear like they were coming from in front of my head, like they would do for if you're listening to speakers and such. So yeah, imaging wise, also the ARYAs are extremely nice. I've done a little bit of FPS gaming, not exactly good at it, so I'm only able to pick up accuracy at best at 30-ish degrees, which is exceptional, even, I would say. And in general music sense, I would say that's also about the accuracy that I'm able to perceive, which again is extremely good, I would say. Some people might be more perceptive towards imaging than I am, so take it with a huge grain of salt. Now, I think this comes into sort of a conclusion section, because if you want a more detailed comparison, we've done a video where we compare the ARYAs towards the focal clears, towards the HD800s, and also the LCDXs. I'll link to that video somewhere in this video. But overall, I would say the ARYAs, if you don't mind that the sharp, a bit harsh treble, and you don't mind looking a bit dumb when you're wearing these, I think for $1,500 with warranty, please pick up warranty if you're buying $1,500 headphones. I would say it's quite a good purchase. Like if I didn't have my clears and I didn't mind the sharpness of the treble, I would have definitely picked up the ARYAs, because they're quite nice. They're a nice pair of headphones to be listening music to. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my video. Like if you liked it, comment what you think, and subscribe if you want more content like this. So see you guys next time.